Thompson School District teachers, and welcome back. Welcome to the 2020-21 school year. Very excited to have you joining us. This will certainly be a very interesting year, but nonetheless, we are very excited to have you back, and I couldn't be more excited to launch the year with you. I wanted to share with you two just very quick stories, things that have helped ground me and get me focused for this upcoming school year. And both of these stories actually occurred on the same day and just a few days ago. Last week, we had the opportunity to honor our graduates of the 2020 class, and we held ceremonies at Thompson Valley High School. And in one of the classrooms, the Board of Education and myself, we had an opportunity to get prepared for the ceremony. And as I looked in throughout the room and noticed in the corner of one of the rooms, there was a chalkboard. And on the chalkboard, there was a date written on there. And the date was March 13th, 2020. And as I thought about the date, March 13th, 2020, I thought about that really being the last day of normal school in last school year. As we embarked on our spring vacation, no one could have predicted that we weren't going to be returning in person for the remainder of that school year. And that was the day that education changed for the foreseeable future. And as we approach this year, I think that we haven't been in school since that date. I mean, we've been working, there's been virtual and online learning, but ever since March 13th, 2020, we have not been in our buildings, we have not been in our classrooms, we have been just like this, communicating with each other in a virtual reality, and things have been very, very different. So it's been that long, as we fast forward to the late summer months of July and August, that we've been away from school. The other image is having the opportunity to participate in our 5 graduation ceremonies. We have 5 amazing high schools here in our district, and we had really good participation. We had lots of our graduates come back. The ceremonies were held on July 16th, 17th, and 18th. And from my vantage point, having a seat where I was able to see each graduate being called up to the stage by name and having their picture taken and looking at the smiles on their face, it was a booster for me. It created a new sense of hope and optimism. It's really easy to feel down. It's really easy, quite honestly, to feel depressed and anxious, as we think about this pandemic and the world that is around us right now. But for those moments in time when I was able to see our graduates walk across the stage, I had a renewed sense of hope and optimism. I had a renewed sense that what we do here in education and what we do here in the Thompson School District is really, really important. And these graduates are a product of our collective work here in our district. And it really starts back in pre-kindergarten and kindergarten, from the earliest years where our students join us and they begin their learning, and it continues all the way through their 12th grade year when they graduate. And each and every teacher that's viewing me and hearing my voice right now has an impact on those graduates that walk across the stage, that earn their diploma, that have their futures that lie ahead of them. And so as we approach this school year, and as we approach the challenges and all of the uncertainties that no doubtly are currently facing us and will continue to face us, our work, the work that we do here in this district, is truly about our students. It's truly about those students that graduate and that they walk across that stage with their diploma and their futures ahead of us. That's why we're here. And no pandemic in the world is going to stop us from carrying out our duty of preparing our students to be successful and thriving citizens in our world. We are doing great work here, and that great work starts from the earliest years when our students join us from early childhood, and it continues with us all the way through 12th grade. And please know that each and every educator leaves a mark and an imprint that positively impacts each of our students. So I know that there is a lot of fear and anxiety, trepidation. There's a lot of uncertainty. I want you to hear that we're going to get through this year together. This is going to be a very successful year. Please know that health and safety are number one concern for this superintendent and our organization. And that's the health and safety of not only each of our students, but each of our employees as well. And so we will continue to work in collaboration, and we will continue to work together to make sure that this year is going to be great. Because again, in the end, it's about our students. It's about getting each student to cross that stage, to get a diploma and to embark in the world in a great future. And all of you play that role. So welcome to the 2020-21 school year. I'm glad that you're joining us on our amazing journey. This will be a year to remember, and this is going to be a great year. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. This is Bill Sievers, Chief Human Resources Officer of this amazing district. I just want to welcome back all teachers to this great district. Because of you, we have world-class talent, and this is definitely a destination district. We are proud to have you, and welcome back.
Hi, I'm Tracy Stagel, your Executive Director of Teaching and Learning. Over the course of the last year here in the Thompson School District, we've been working on aligning systems so that we can work smarter, not harder. Back at the beginning of 2019-2020, we introduced the Thompson School District Teaching and Learning Focus. This document came out of a year's worth of work by a group of teachers and administrators who participated in a think tank called Modern Teacher. The three areas you see here, responsive and rigorous learning, safe and supportive culture, and relevant experience, helped us begin to move the work of our district's strategic plan, Strive 2025, forward. Last fall into winter, we continued to pay attention to aligning our systems. Take a look at this graphic delineating the idea of systems thinking and how it describes our work. Here in the Thompson School District, all of the pieces of the system must work together to ensure a strong implementation of our strategic plan. Systems thinking includes 5 components, the ones you see here on the left: cultural and institutional values, mental models, underlying structures, patterns, and events. I appreciate the image of the iceberg. There's so much more that has to be aligned under the surface to ensure that the events, which are the teaching and learning that happens each day in your classroom, connect to the deeper work of the Thompson School District. If we start with the cultural and institutional values we hold, there are 2 main underpinnings of our work. The first one is our board policy for equity. This policy lives in the A section in our district under Foundations and Basic Commitments. I want to read to you now directly from the policy. The district believes that each student is valued and important, has potential to learn and grow, and that we have the responsibility to educate each child in our system while honoring their diversity. As many of you know, I spent 15 years teaching language arts. There's a difference between each and every. Each indicates that the individualization for each student is super important in our classroom. We need to do what kids need, what each kid needs, to ensure success. The district is committed to creating and implementing a district organization in which leadership and members of all divisions take responsibility for and are accountable for ensuring that students and staff are provided with what they need to be successful. The district is committed to providing safe, inclusive, and supportive learning and work environments in which students, staff, families, and our community's diversity are recognized, honored, and respected, thereby creating a strong sense of belonging so that each individual can achieve their goals. The district believes that families should be welcomed, supported, and engaged in receiving information about programs available to their children and in decision-making. The district believes that allocating resources equitably will support the narrowing of student opportunity gaps. Adjusting academic, athletic, activity fee, resource, and supply structures across the school district will increase access and opportunity to each student. These are the underpinnings of all of our work as educators in the Thompson School District. If we actualize these statements, then we can ensure that each student will embody the portrait of a TSD graduate, becoming strong communicators, critical thinkers, contributing citizens in society, strong collaborators, and self-advocates. As the 2019-2020 year got rolling, we realized that our teaching and learning focus wasn't specific or powerful enough to truly systematize the practices that would result in true implementation of our Strive 2025 strategic plan, specifically the areas of student achievement and safe and supportive culture. We needed to provide a stronger mental model that would offer our teachers, all of you, the opportunity to connect all the pieces necessary in teaching and learning, design, and delivery. That was the lion's share of our work last winter as we developed the Thompson Educational Expectations. The name of our learning model is purposeful. We know that things fall down when expectations are not clear. And they're not the Thompson Educational Suggestions or the Thompson Educational Things to Consider Sometimes Maybe. This is what we expect, and we're clear that if these pieces are in place, we can ensure success for each student. Here are the compass points. The first compass point at the top is conditions for learning. This is how we set the stage for each learner to be successful. Learning design. This is the planning process, which combines the what with evidence-based pedagogy. Think of it as all that happens behind the scenes prior to students engaging in learning with you. Learning delivery. This is when the great planning comes into fruition when students are active in the process. And evaluations of learning. This is how we know we've been successful. EC12 administrators offered feedback on the new design of the Thompson Educational Expectations at the beginning of March 2020, and then our district was faced with closure during the pandemic. Did this stop us? No. A group of 90 administrators and teachers from every single level came together virtually during the month of May to begin to make sense of each of the 4 compass points and then build out resources for all licensed staff rooted in evidence-based practices. In this professional learning Google Classroom, there's a Bitmoji classroom slide that offers you direct links to the TEE website. Special thanks to Jeannie Sponheim, our digital learning specialist, who taught me that a Bitmoji classroom is a good idea. The Thompson Educational Expectations provide the mental model for our whole system to align our practices regardless of the teaching and learning reality. You see, we designed TEE and the beginning of the resource bank to be viable for in-person learning and for remote learning. This is where underlying structures come into play in our current reality. If we analyze the biggest challenges from the pandemic closure in the spring of 2020, many of the challenges rooted in the underlying structures that were not ready for school closure. Examples of these include secondary schedules in which students had 6 to 7 classes, secondary teachers having over 150 students. We had teachers unsure about how to make phone calls using technology other than their cell phone. We had technology not available for students. We had teachers who had not yet built an infrastructure of blended learning where students were accessing material online. Students weren't ready. The list goes on. So as we move into teaching this fall, we've worked on paying attention to the underlying structures, and we've made some changes and built some resources. The professional learning modules housed here in this Google Classroom are designed to support the underlying structures in your classroom. These include managerial structures for in-person learning to ensure safe practices, community structures for both in-person and online learning to ensure we're attending to the social and emotional needs of students. You'll notice this section is a bit larger. This is intentional because planning for community is foundational. It's prepping the system for success. If you pay attention and take time to set up solid conditions for learning, both adults and students are more successful. Just so you know, the new schedules at middle school and high school are actually part of the underlying structure challenges. We have now teachers who are engaging with fewer students to really build those relationships stronger. Learning design. This is what we're calling in these modules the what. We've paid attention to identifying priority standards. This includes strong attention to the foundational skills in the early grades and the cross-cutting standards that are really transferable across content areas. And then finally, learning delivery, or the how. The actualization of TSD's equity policy becomes visible in our delivery. This is how we are with ourselves, with one another, with our students, with our families. One purpose of delaying the start of school is to ensure that the infrastructure that you all create has the ability to operate in person and then pivot should the need arise to fully online with ease, so that we address some of those areas that were barriers in spring of 2020. So as you complete these modules, we want you to be thinking about the whole system of education and think about how you might set your students up for success, not only in person, but really prepare them for when they will be learning remotely. Before I end my presentation, I want to bring you back to this idea of systems thinking. All of this way of thinking is part of our multi-tiered system of supports, also known as MTSS. Now you might be thinking, oh, I know what MTSS is. It's that committee who meets to talk about students who are struggling. That's MTSS. So actually that's not true. That's not MTSS. Multi-tiered system of supports is a system. It's a systems thinking. It's a systemic way of thinking about how each student is supported by the system, which in my case and for other district workers is thinking about what we do for the whole district. But in your case, the focus could be on your school's efforts, how your efforts support each student in your classroom. We'll all need to work together to make that happen. The next part of Start Here is a presentation by Kim Watchorn, our multi-tiered system of supports coordinator. She will offer some information and insight about MTSS here in the Thompson School District. Thank you in advance for your amazing work this year here in TSD. We've got this.